And I walked out to go Jade. And she turned around and she had this like it was a long cylinder glass. And it was and she was like, "There's three different kind of sound in here, but you need to separate the sound." I was like, "What?" I'm like, "What do you mean talking about?" She's like, and then she started to tap the glass, and she was like,
The one that you have pets.
"No."
Oh, my, like
Ambiance.
That's my white noise.
okay. I'm like, hold up. I know I'm not tripping.
I
know I hear something.
I have waves. I have rain, thunderstorm. I have white noise. I have lullabies. I have all kind of thing. Anything.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. Good night, beautiful people. Good night, beautiful people. Welcome. Come on in the room. Share the live. Share the live. Heart. Subscribe. Follow. Tag your friends. Send to your friends. Send a link in their inbox. Send it in a text message. All that good stuff. You know, we just setting the vibe. We're just opening up the floor. So, you know, you have your co-host, Ms. Raina, on the line.
Hello.
You have on the line. I'm just getting myself situated so y'all don't mind me. But we just in the vibe. And I like my little candle. You know, I gotta have a little light because I'm not at home today. And so I gotta light a little light. And I think I wanna yeah, you know, do a little switch up. Yes. Oh, this is gonna look weird. I can't put on the green. That's gonna look weird. No, I can't do that. Oh. Okay. I don't know. No, I can't do that. But I would like. Now see, Barbara Big Tree got an ambiance one. I thought I was tripping for a moment. I'm like, wait a minute. Do I hear crickets? Or
welcome within the garden. This is the garden.
He had to open up the door for us today. Oh, the garden. I get it. Yes. Take us there. Okay. That is a conversation within itself.
I have an abundance.
Garden.
These are very much experience in this room.
Yes, we're good. We're good to go. All right. So I welcome you guys to the Airlock Collective tonight on Wild Out Wednesday. I pray that you come, that you engage, that you partake with us, that you share with us, that you communicate with us, that you engage, you comment, that you talk back to us because we like engagement. Hey, Mama Star, thank you for coming in. Let me know that you can hear us well. Let me know that you can see us well. You understand? You want to get a good vibe. I don't know if this background thing is causing my camera to shift and stick and all that weird stuff, so it might be coming off. So we're gonna see. But anyhow, I thank you guys for coming in. Tonight, as you guys saw from the last video, we are getting into sex and spirituality. I'm gonna get comfortable. Sex and spirituality. You understand? And that is quite an intensive, sensitive topic to some, intensive to most, but I think important to all. You understand? Because as we navigate and maneuver through life, and us being human beings, intimacy, whether it's sexual or non-sexual, whether it's physical or non-physical, sharing a space of intimacy, and exchanging energy and understanding what comes with that, I believe is important. And so the number one purpose of this space is to educate, to inform, to empower, and to ensure that you guys are maneuvering in a safe manner that is beneficial to your well-being holistically. And so tonight we have our co-host, Rain, and we have our extended co-host tonight, our special featured guest, Barbara Big Tree. And we ask that if you are liking the content that you share, that you subscribe, that you reach out, that you give them guys some energy, send them some positive energy, interact with them. You know, we want nothing but good vibes tonight. And if you would like to send a donation or love offering, I would ask that they would attach their cash apps. Barbara Bigtree can attach the cash app in the comments, and also my cash app is a love hand, is a hand. I said love hand, love, yes, love offerings. So the love, the dollar sign that is attached there. So if you would like to send a love offering, you can send the sign that is attached there. So anyway, we're going to get into sex and spirituality, predominantly incubus and succubus, and a little bit of other things attached to that, of course. We will get into that further down the line. Let me know that you all can hear us well, that you can hear us clear, and all that good stuff. Like I said, if you like the content, like, share, and subscribe. So, number one, last week, into the topic of I'm making sure my volume and everything is okay. We got into the topic of just, a few aspects of sexuality and spirituality and the connection of it. You understand, when it comes to exchanging energy, when it comes to self exploration, when it comes to exploring safely with a partner. But when we dig deeper into encounters, whether it's with self, whether it's from different stages of your life, whether it's even post or even during an encounter with someone, you may or may not encounter an incubus or succubus. So, generally speaking, and I'll share from my perspective or what I believe my definition is, and then allow the guests, the co-hosts, to share theirs, and Baba Big Tree to share his perspective, and then I'll also share a quote unquote professional definition of what an incubus and succubus is. But from a broad spectrum, different parts of the world call them different things. Some people in the island call them sukubayam or sakubayam. Um, some, they're known as, witch writings, or they're known as, professionally or generally known incubus or succubus, or incubi and succubi. When we get it, and the by making it plural, when we get into incubi or succubi, it's the plural definition. So you wouldn't say incubuses or succubuses, you would say incubi or succubi if you're speaking in a plural sense, because sometimes they can come in a plural, in multiple forms and multiple times, in multiple ways, in multiple situations. And so there's a level of duality and a level of polarity when you deal with succubus and incubus. I will not say generally and just flat out they're wrong or they're bad, but they can be malicious, benevolent spirits. If they can come that way, and they can come and take from you. But when we get into them, they are lower vibrational entities. I won't say demons, but lower vibrational entities. Some would categorize them as demons, or energies that draw or take from a person. And that is one aspect of them. I will say that is one broad, major, well-known aspect of an incubus and a succubus. So take your energy, they will drain your energy, they will come and ride you in the night, they will come and take from you. But they are a force that, for a male, it will be known as an incubus or incubi. And for a female aspect, it will be known as a succubus or a succubi. And so what happens is that you may have a wet dream, or a um some type of encounter in the night that is a solo experience, and where you see this force of this entity, this male, this woman come, and they will have sex with you. And then you have situations on a broad spectrum, and we'll dive in deeper further down the line, where you would be having sexual exchange with somebody, and then you notice that at the end of that, you are extremely, extremely drained. When you feel abnormal or drained in a way that you weren't expecting to be, or just didn't turn out the way that you were expecting it to be. And so I would like to hear from our co-hosts about their perspective of incubi and succubi, or incubus and succubus. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the definition too, so I can read it to you all.
Good night, everyone. I hope everyone is feeling good. I hope everyone is blessed. I hope everyone is energized and coming on live today with an open mind, ready to have some conversations that, can be a little bit uncomfortable, but, very necessary in today's free love society that we live in. And a simple form, succubus or incubus, the male version or the female version, is a sexual energy vampire. It's an entity, whether you want to refer to it as a demon or a person, that drains you of your life force in order to use it for their purposes to create whatever form of life they are trying to bring forth. It's a taker. It's the, as you said, the person that you may lay with, or the encounter that you may have where all of a sudden you're starting to feel more and more drained. You're starting to feel more and more unfulfilled. You're starting to realize that your life is shifting from a positive standpoint into a more negative standpoint. You can actually see it in your skin sometimes. You'll start to look older, you'll start to look less attractive because they are taking from your life force. So just in a generalized term, before we go any deeper, it is a sexual energy vampire. Papa Big Tree?
Me? Well, good evening, everybody. Hello, hello. I am Baba Big Tree, also known as the Hoodobia Man, also known by many other names. Just happy to be here. If you know me, you know I love a dynamic, well thought, conversation. Miss Rain knows very well. We converse on many things in life. So this is a wonderful forum, and I'm thankful for it. But just to dive right into the topic, incubi, pardon, and succubi, an incubus or a succubus. The definition in itself, the world, the worldly view and the worldly definition would automatically define them as a demon energy that dwells during those nocturnal hours, and they use that time to take on those sort of sexual deviances. But really and truly, in throughout history and throughout various cultures, as you said earlier, again, and you kind of explained it very well. They come in various forms. They can come in external spiritual manifestations, but also personal and internal manifestations of them can live within us. They're not only, I would say, demons or spirits or energies that dwell within the earth, but there are human beings that emit that energy as well. A lot of it comes from, thoughts and words and the power of those things and how they manifest in our lives. But at the root, it is a sexual energy that is meant to take. Is no giving in it. It's all about receiving and taking, and you will see people who involve themselves with certain energies that adopt those kind of attributes. It like Rain said, it shows up in their personality, in their visual, and everything. It's a kind of energy that kind of encompasses everything. That just goes to show the power that sexual energy has.
Yeah.
As I always say, the good, bad, and indifferent. It doesn't matter. They all have a certain power depending on the intention. And I think the intention of the energy of a succubus or an incubus is generally to take. There isn't necessarily a powerful, well, let me not say that. I think intent is always the part of it. And most times the intent is to be on the negative side. Now, and I know as we get further in the conversation, there are, forms of being as far as human life and careers and jobs and personalities that can adopt those same attributes for, quote unquote, good things. Just like I said, this just depends on the perspective and the intent. Exactly.
I agree. And so number one, I think when we get into definitions, number one, I want to make this point that when we look into like Webster's dictionary and all these professional dictionaries, quote unquote, that provide us definitions for the terminologies that we use, we have to also realize that given in a very European Christianized mindset or conservative perspective. And so when we get into a lot of the core history or the ancient awareness of the old history of a lot of the beings that exist, we have to remember that they are not often depicted in their full essence in the definitions that we make. Now, I don't even deem it necessary. I would say, well, I'll go ahead and read it just for the purpose, because I said I will. Google says here, 1 second. Okay. Google says here, a male demon believed to have for incubus. Let me make this is a definition according to Google. Miss Google. It says a male demon, definition A is a male demon believed to have sexual intercourse with a sleeping woman. A cause of distress or anxiety. I think this is okay. This is a product of that encounter. It says a cause of distress or anxiety. That is big. That is a big incubus in developing countries. Never mind. That doesn't apply. But let me more so say here. Yeah. Let me more so say specifically. Okay. Let me more so say specifically a male demon believed to have sexual intercourse with a sleeping woman. And so when we get into the sleeping aspect, oftentimes incubus spirits will happen when we talk about solo or in a dream state, or whether you're daydreaming or if you're in a physical sleep. They will visit you in a dream state and have intercourse with you, and you will know. You may see them. Some people don't see them. Oh, go ahead, Neek. I'm gonna grab my
No,
other charger really fast. Go ahead.
on that point that you made about a lot of what we perceive as succubus and incubus energy is actually the Christianized view of natural phenomenons that happen, like having maybe a hard one in the middle of the night as a child going through puberty or something like that. So when they couldn't control how sexuality and sexualization was being explored at the time, they created a lot of these energies to try to explain natural phenomenon. So I think like when we're defining a succubus and an incubus, we got to be careful that a lot of our perception of what they are is based on Christian doctrines of wanting to keep sexualization in a box and to keep it confined.
I can't hear you.
There we go. I just realized I was on mute. And so, like I was saying, I agree with you, because oftentimes in Abrahamic traditions, when we get into Judaism, Islam, and Christianity, a lot of sexual freedom and liberations and sexual explorations were limited because people were not able to explore themselves or even able to express themselves, or even whether it was with their husbands, or husbands with their wives. A lot of times there were a lot of restrictions placed on lovemaking, even for Orthodox Jews and traditional Jews. Same thing with Islam, and especially when we get into having conversation about sex, it's very taboo in the modern day church. But fun fact for you, fun fact, when we get into the earlier makings of the church, and you guys can do your own research on this, and I'll supply some links in the comments when I publicize and finish the live. I'll supply some links with you because I don't have them attached right now, but I will go ahead and say it, share with you all, is that in the earlier makings of the church, we have to be very honest in identifying that the what was it called, what were the terms called for like women that were like they had the houses, the I don't know if this brothel was not the term back then.
I mean, it probably wasn't a brothel. That's what it is. Yeah.
Yes, but you know what I mean? So the place where the women were to please men.
A harem.
Also, the gathering place where you say harems. Yes, thank you. That's where a lot of the earlier devotions for the Christian church started. Absolutely. So your earlier praise and worship leaders.
Let's be real, right? Because putting aside all of our understanding, like Christianity at its base, as most agnostic and esoteric belief says, is based off of the worship of the sun, right? Now let's be real. The best way to receive of all of the sun is to be in our purest form. Not so, and in receiving all of the power of the sun, we're human beings. Those things are just we're creating while being, invigorated. I mean, I don't necessarily see it being too far fetched if we're going down that vein of wisdom.
Okay, and that's true though. And so even when we talk about the times harlots and witches, because even a lot of times women that were free thinkers or very
You're stuck.
You're frozen, Ricky.
It's already back on. You're stuck, but you're stuck. Yeah. Hey boy, the spirit was like, nah. Let me rebuke that. We have to rebuke that spirit. Is it still live? I guess it's just us talking. Yeah. Y'all, we have to invoke all the energies and rebuke that spirit.
And we're going to get back into the conversation.
Who we calling you? Sure. Open the way. God of technology.
Come
on. Open the way.
Reconnect.
I'm going to sing too.
Yeah, sing a song.
I'm you. I'm you. I'm Monday. I'm really. Smile.
We apologize for the technical difficulties.
It's just,
It's just, we're still under this Mercury retrograde energy, so we should expect things like this to happen. So I hope you find us entertaining enough to keep your attention span going while we wait for him to sort this out.
And what's today? Wednesday. The day is
Mercury. I had a glitch. Yeah. So, as I was saying, a lot of times, women that were free thinkers or very independent women, or even conducted business, oftentimes were seen as ladies of the night, or were given misconceptions of their identity, or even times categorized as succubus or incubus because of their level of liberation. Now, this is not me taking away for the factor of that there is a reality that incubus and succubus spirits do exist. In every culture across the world, as I did mention earlier, is that, every tradition from Africa to Asia to the South America to this very continent that we live on in America, and every region of the world, and every tradition and every practice, there's a level of incubus and succubus. You understand? And they have names, various of names. We know some, and other traditions, we know them by various of names. And let me say this as well. Every spirit, primordial being, lesser or higher or greater, they exist by various of names no matter where you find them. And so certain traditions and certain energies do exist as well. Terminologies will shift.
So we cannot solely depend upon the English dictionary, whether it be the British, the Oxford, or the Webster. You understand? Because that does not speak to the totality of the existence of these forces and these energies there within. You understand? And so when we get into the entity, the female entity or the male entity, I'm not going to continue to, the male or female entity, you guys know what we're talking about. They are, how can I say it? Okay. They are primordial beings, but they're not on the higher form. Okay. They're not, because when we think about the deities, there's levels in the heavens or levels in the pantheons, and this is in all traditions, there's levels in hierarchies. And so every quote unquote hierarchy has groups or spheres that are attached to it. Okay. And they all function accordingly, all function differently, all function within their junction, as we would like to say. Now, when we get into the element of the incubi or the succubi, I would say they are primordial beings that are attached to a hierarchy. They're not the hierarchy, but they are linked to a hierarchy. I'm not going to go into the names of those. That's for you guys to do your research. And we can have further conversation. You can interact in the comments and we can talk about it further. But they feed off of energy. Just like there are certain entities that feed off of fear. There's certain entities that feed off of gluttony. There's certain entities that feed off of lust. There's certain entities that feed off of your desire for money, X, Y, by Z. These particular energies feed off of the exchange of sex. Just that energy. The sexual energy and the life force that lies within the sexual energy.
That's the thing. That's the key.
Okay. The life force that lies within the sexual energy. That is your bodily fluids that causes creation to happen. Okay? And so go ahead, Nee. Go ahead, Nee. Go ahead.
I think it's important for us to, go back to the conversation we had last week where we mentioned, the power that lies within sex, that creation energy that lies within sex. Now, succubuses, their whole purpose is to take that energy because they know the power that lies within that energy to bring forth life. And I keep saying life is not a child. Life is anything that's brand new, anything that you're creating from the sheer thought of your power of your mind. So, when you remember that this is such an important life force that we are carrying, you won't mindlessly, interact in these practices of sex. I just want to go back to that because it's important to understand that everything that we do has a spiritual implication to it. And it's not, and it's not mindless.
Yeah. Sex is simply just a vehicle. It's how they get there. But there is an intent, there's a purpose to receive something. You understand? And the life force in itself gives them life. You understand? They're only vehicle of receiving that through, I guess, the best way to receive it at its highest and greatest power and potential is through the vehicle that is sex. Because during the action, your body is responding. Every part of your body is responding. Your brain is now
you're producing serotonin.
You're producing all of these different chemicals that are flowing through your body.
Yes.
Activating your nerves. Once all of these feelings that we feel during sex is simply just our complete spine activating and being able to feel all of those energies and those feelings and those touches and those emotions all at the same time. That's why sex is so addictive and that's why it's also powerful. So easy for succubi and incubi to just be able to latch on because we get so attached to that feeling. It's so good because really and truly it's sort of like all of our chakras just kind of come to life because every part of our body exactly. It's the awareness.
Do you guys also feel that another way that incubi and succubi are able to kind of latch on or get in is because we also live in, as Nick kind of mentioned last week, an over-sexualized society.
I feel like it's like when you feed the gremlin after 12. It was already there, but now because the portals are so open for them to come through, and we're now opening ourselves now. Before, sex was mostly between a husband and wife. You might have some few liaisons here and there, but now we have a multitude of sex happening. So it's multiple portals for them to come through and be more permissive and, and greater.
Yeah, and I also think that the perspective that our culture is over sexualized, I do agree, but then there's also a flip side to that. Whereas I think culture has just allowed themselves to be more aware, and that sort of has opened up the door for everything, because awareness in itself, we all understand that no matter what belief you have, consciousness in itself opens up your eye to a multitude of things. And once the generation kind of shifted and the consciousness shifted, I think there was a different awareness that it was always there, but now just there was room for it to just come out and just be present in the everyday society. All of these things that people practice, they've always been there.
That's so true.
All of these sexual feelings and practices, they've always been around.
Now, this is what I was going to ask, because you said something very pivotal. I'm sorry, Neek. Go ahead, finish your statement. I apologize, my dear.
That we've had so many depictions of it throughout history that people were always in sexual situations, exploring things sexually. It's just now, I think we went through a period where there was this veil that was on sex, and then the veil got lifted once again.
Okay, pause right there. Don't go too deep yet. Don't go too deep, because we're going to touch that. Don't go too deep yet. That's the juicy. That's the juicy. So, when we talk about that, it's always been there. This is what I wanted to get into for a minute. When we talk about it, always been there. Would you say that is linked to sometime there's certain energy that passed down generationally because of whether it be from generational traumas, certain spirits are attached to those traumas, but also going all the way back from the earlier ancient way back when our DNA and our family lines may have started, there may be also certain sexual desires that also are included within our DNA.
I think that's true. I think even, if you think about how DNA works, why wouldn't there be things that's linked sexually, that's passed along? We pass along so much information throughout our bodies and our system. Now, do we want to say we have awareness that, okay, maybe my great-grandmother had this particular inclination? No, we don't want to be at that level of awareness yet. So it may play out in different ways, but I definitely feel like it's because of, it can be because of some generational things that are passed along.
Yeah, I also agree. I do think there is an aspect of things just being linked to, who we are as far as like our bloodline. There's always just certain things in people that are, especially in families, that are just a thing. Just ornate. It's just who they are. We all know those people who, the grandfather was a player, the father was a player, the son's a player, everybody beautiful in the family. It's just sometimes I do think that is one aspect. A lot of it also is experience, what people see. Experience is the greatest teacher in the world. And a lot of times it's just certain people grow up in certain environments and certain cultures where those things are acceptable, those things are okay, and it becomes a part of who they are and a part of their life. So it comes from various things, and also the culture just being grossly over sexualized for the sake of consumption and capitalism, and because they know sex sells. Those things are a part of it as well. Yeah, go ahead.
Let's go ahead. She gets, when we do the finger, then we can really, it's a heart finger.
To the point that sexualization has always been here. It just goes through periods and phases where the veil is lifted and put back. If we go back to the 70s, people were into free love and experimenting sexually, and then we go through periods of conservatism, and then it goes back again to being overly sexualized. So it's not that.
Wait, let's also say brothels and bathhouses have always existed.
They always have, and they
That's what
still
I'm
do.
saying. So it's not that, it's that we're an over sexualized, for the first time ever. It's just this particular time and period, the sexual energy is probably needed to create something new.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now, brother Eldon, you said you disagree with that one. Type in a comment what element you disagree with, so that we can actually expound. Not saying that not everybody's not going to agree. We're just presenting different possibilities, different thoughts, different mindsets, and we come to a collective and learn from each other. So all of us have different viewpoints. But I would like for you to share with us and with the audience what element you disagree with, so that you can present something to us, so that we can learn something and we can build or respond to as well. So I do thank you for attentively listening and sharing your thoughts with us. But as Neek was saying, like these things have always been here. Devontae and Neek were saying that, Big Tree was saying, these things have always been here. At the end of the day, it's not new. But we do live in a time and a society, for some it may appear as unfortunate, wherever you fall on the spectrum. And for others, it comes across as very fortunate because, like I said last week, we live in a time and a space where there are safe environments for people to go to explore these things. You just have to, number one, be aware with yourself. And so when we get into, again, talking about those things, when I talk about the succubi and the incubi being something that may navigate because of maybe possible generational aspects or generational traumas, quote unquote, generational curses, whether that be through, you know, um, not necessarily molestation, but everyone having a baby young, for example, or everyone getting married and up in a relationship or breakups around the same time, or everyone ends up having, and I've heard situations too from clients where every firstborn female were having the same type of sexual encounters from a particular entity. And so I had to investigate that and find out that that stemmed from something that was tied up way from back when that had to be cleared and reset. And so you understand sometimes there are certain entities that will feed off of you. And so when we talk about that, now I believe that when we talk about any entity that exists, the divine source, the creator of all, the creator of everything, does not allow anything to happen that should not be, whether it's to teach us, correct us, awaken us, empower us, shift us into a dynamic that is to realign us. You understand? And so, with that being said, sometimes our ancestors, you understand, may or may not have made agreements, or we're keeping up certain things, or we're doing certain things for particular entities or spirits and energies, whatever, broad spectrum, not going into specifics. And at some point down the line, it stopped. And sometimes, and it's stopping, there's a repercussion. And sometimes in those repercussions, the spirits or certain energies will latch on, or certain things will be allowed to happen until someone crazy like us, that are bold like us, decide to do the spiritual work, for ourselves, but also for our families, to realign certain things, to avoid certain things from happening. That's one aspect. And then the other aspect is you have people that experiment with certain things, and in their experimentation start to practice certain things magically or spiritually in their operations, and something will come because of that and interact with them, or take from them, or and have intercourse with them, or drain them from in a sexual manner, whether it be in their dream state or through someone else. You understand? That is a repercussion of. So these things do happen too. And then some people are simply mediums that are vulnerable until they gain protection, to be protected from certain forces latching onto them. This is the negative aspects of Incubus and Succubus. I would like to hear what you guys have to say as I read Eldon's comment.
So for me, when I think about incubus and succubus, I more think about it from like people perspective, not so much of an entity perspective, because there are a lot of people who are incubuses and succubuses and not even aware of it. because they carry so much, I don't want to say negative energy inside of them or trauma related to sex inside of them, that they don't understand when they have sex with other people, they're drawing from them and they're taking from them. That's why I say a lot of times, like when you interact with certain people sexually, if you're not aware of their energy and what they're coming with and the level and the vibration of the frequencies that they're at, they can draw from you and take from you. So I'm not thinking of an incubus and succubus so much from the point of it, which it is an actual entity, but I'm thinking about it more of the more incubus and succubus energy that can lie within having sex.
Okay.
If the exchange is not equal.
Okay. I go further. Oh, wait a minute. Devontae, share your piece, and then that is a different element of it. So I would definitely want you to take lead and talk about that a little bit more too, Neat. When we talk about dealing with us as people or the exchange as people moving intentionally or operating in a succubus or incubus sphere. I think that's a really good aspect of it. But Devontae, I want to hear your aspect of it as well.
Yeah, my I think ideology is very similar. I think, you know, in my head, I tend to also kind of veer towards the people aspect of it as well, because I think nowadays, and I'm stuff nowadays, you know, the world, like we said earlier, the world has its definition of what incubus and a succubus is, and there are specific entities and energies that have already been sort of connected to those things. But beyond that, you know, I think that energy gets created every single day.
Amen.
I think, you know, we as human beings, we devalue how powerful our mind is, and how powerful the words in our mouth are, because really and truly, I think that energy in itself is most created by those who dwell in an energy of needing and don't have the resources to receive certain things. And that could be spiritual, carnal, emotional, all of those things. When people don't have access to what they need, that energy tends to become, now I'm going to start latching on. You know, we all have those. Well, I hope not. But
oh, pause. Okay, let's dive into that. Let's dive into that because that's a big point. Let's dive into that because that's. I wanted to generalize the spiritual aspect because those are the things that I know, but I definitely want to dwell on that aspect because of the time that we're living in. Greetings, good night, everyone. I think that happens consciously and subconsciously.
Absolutely.
You understand? Consciously and subconsciously. And I think that is very important that people understand how it happens consciously and subconsciously, just by our thoughts, by our deeds, and how we move from how we date, how we link up, how we go out, how we set expectations, these things. So I want you guys to talk about that a little bit more. Take your time because we walk in nice. Ain't no need to rush. We walk in it.
Yeah, no, definitely. Where I was going is that, you know, I think most people have experienced at least one person in their life who they've created a friendship with, a relationship with, you know, it can be a coworker, a neighbor, who for some reason, you know, you have this inclination to want to either help or be their friend or listen to them. And that starts off as one thing. And then as time goes on, you realize they become so intertwined in your life, and you know, you're constantly hearing from them. They're always in your phone, texting you every minute, you know, and you're always giving so much. And it sometimes, you know, some people are bold and strong enough to be able to sit back and see. But unfortunately, you know, if you don't have the mental capacity to be able to decipher and discern those kinds of energy, people tend to get drained, you know, and it manifests in relationships, particularly relationships. You know, we want love so bad. You know, I want her to love me so bad. I want him to love me so bad. I'll do anything. And you allowing this person to just leech, and or as the culture says, you know, I can't remember what it's called, but there's people who just, you know, take and take and take and take.
Energy vampires.
Yeah, you know those couch surfers, you know, just living all for everything, and just taking all of you, your sex, your time, your emotions, your money, your space, all of these things, and just taking and not giving anything back. that is I feel like the most
Yeah.
common and I guess pure form of an incubus or a succubus. You know, they manifest in our
I
lives.
think that is definitely a form. I think that is a form of. I definitely think that is definitely a form of. It's not just always sexual, you know. It comes from the energy that it takes to create. So I definitely think that. So go ahead, Nick. Go ahead. Let me hear you. Because I just got a download, but I'm going to hold on to it. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, just going back to the point that when we think about an incubus or a succubus on an energetical level, it's a relationship where there's not an equal give and take. It's where you're pouring out way more than the person is pouring into you. And when I say in a sexual manner, a lot of times we may have partners that are not even fulfilling us, but we find for some reason we continue going back to this particular partner. That person might be operating in a succubus or incubus type energy, and they may be aware of it, because there are people who are aware that they're incubuses and aware that they're succubuses, and they go looking for sexual liaisons with different people to get their fill, to replenish their cup. You know, whether they call themselves a player, whether they call themselves a sex addict, whatever the modern terminology for it is, it's still the operation in an incubus and succubus relationship.
It feeds something.
It's not you getting replenished or you getting back what you've put into that relationship. It's you constantly giving. And you know, a lot of women especially, they're out there in incubus relationship with relationships with incubuses. They've probably never climaxed, never received oral, you know, stimulation, and they're just continue having sex with this person. And they're like, why am I doing this? There's nothing that man is an incubus. He's operating an incubus vibration. And we don't like to call things for what it is, but if you're with a man and he's never made you achieve what you're looking for, what's the point? You got to start thinking about, why is this dynamic so important to me? Especially if, you know, he's not fulfilling the other things like protecting and providing and all that other stuff that's not related to the topic at hand. But a lot of people are operating in incubus and succubus vibrations awareingly, and some of them may not be.
And it's dangerous. It's dangerous, especially when we get into the aspect, it's very dangerous, because when we get into trauma and even when we get into emotional well-being, you know, for the people that are sexually active, you know, I'm not speaking to the audience of those of you that are not sexually active and feel like you're past that season in your life, or you're not there right now. But for those of you that are sexually active, I think that it's very dangerous to coexist or allow yourself to be intimate with someone that is not able to take you to a place where you need to be holistically. It is an injustice to you, because when we get into our emotional well-being, our energy, when we talk about, you know, that glow, for women, you guys get that glow. You want to get up, cook breakfast, sausage, eggs, biscuits from scratch, you know, dinner we getting stewed chicken, rice and peas and the whole nine, and cheesy macaroni pie. You understand listen. And so when we get into those things now, I was watching something where someone said it's a difference between lust, like, and love. Because love, you will tolerate certain things. But when a person likes you, they treat you differently. And so when a person that you are being intimate with likes you, they're going to ensure that your experience intimately, from the touch, the feel, the foreplay, to the riding the roller coaster, to climaxing that roller coaster, to coming back down that roller coaster, is going to be everything you need and more, because they are in tune with you. They're in tune with your thought. They're in tune with your body. They're in tune with your sensual being. Before you don't even need to verbalize what it is, because your companion now will be able to tap in tune with your spiritual essence. Now you become one in that space. And I think that's very important. And so it is dangerous to be with someone that is not giving you that, because you now walk away angry, frustrated, tense. You know, you walk away with an energy that is not what you were seeking, and you're not carrying that. So now your kids are affected because you're pissed off. You're going to work with an attitude. You can't think straight because your body all hot and bothered and dysfunctional because things ain't right and ain't working functioning. You didn't get that pressure off. And so we have to be mindful of these things. What you guys have to say about that?
like I said earlier, a lot of women, unfortunately, are in situations, relations, whatever they want to call it nowadays, where they're not being fulfilled and not being fulfilled in any
Pardon me one
manner,
moment. Excuse me.
any manner whatsoever. And I'm not just talking merely sexually, but I'm talking in emotional, holistic, energetically, they're not being fulfilled. And that's usage. And whether you want to call it energetical usage, spiritual usage, it's usage. And we have to understand we're having a little technical difficulties right now, but
It's
we'll be
okay.
back. The lighting will be back.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
That there has to be an equal exchange in everything that you do.
Yes. 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 I agree. Now, Donna says they need to heal from the past trauma, come out of survival mode. I agree with you, Donna. I agree. A lot of people are in relationships that are survival mode. They're in situations that are based upon survival and they're based upon traumas. A lot of people are afraid to love. They're walking in relationships and situations guarded. You understand again, which again makes you vulnerable to succubus and succubi energy because you are walking with a lack of confidence and knowingness of self and what you want and what you stand for. And so again, you're like a ship without a sail. Anything can go. Anything can come in, anything can go out. Go ahead, Lee.
And that's just operating off the basis that people are even aware of their traumas. Because I have to tell people, like, a lot of times, one of the first steps into this spiritual enlightenment is being aware of yourself. And a lot of people, they claim to have self-awareness, but they're not aware of their triggers. They're not aware of how they are interpreting their triggers. They're not aware of the traumas that they're holding on. And sometimes they don't even understand that the trauma that they're holding on is not even theirs. It's that of the grandmother. Because, I had a revelation the other day and I was like, well, this is a pattern within my family. And that brought me to another awareness of the matriarchal things that lie within my bloodline. But if you don't take the time to sit and think about these things, you're never going to be aware to even operate at a higher level or to say that I'm in a situation with an incubus or succubus. It takes a level of awareness to even begin to understand that.
You see, and that's where I think, the largest portion of all of this, that's where, balance and everything comes back in life. Particularly with this, there's an importance of understanding how to balance your emotions, because I think emotions are the greatest food for these kinds of energy. They feed off of these emotions that we emit. When we have these feelings of feeling bad about ourselves, or these depressive thoughts, these dark thoughts, these self-deprecating thoughts, even how we talk about ourselves, how we speak about the world and our environment. When we go to work, when we go to school, the things we say and how we react to things, all of these things affect the energies that come to us, including, those lower vibrational energies that are succubi and incubi, and even to kind of climb a mountain and come back down real quick. It goes to, the spiritual aspect as well. There are certain energies that, depending on their perspective and their dispensation, they may operate within that realm of feeding and taking, and if you are not smart and aware and have that certain kind of equilibrium as a spiritual person,
Yep.
I think we've all seen how those things can sort of overtake you and overtake
Absolutely.
your being, your everything, particularly certain levels of energy and being and spirit.
Absolutely.
They can
Absolutely.
become attached. Certain books call them certain things. I can't remember what it's called. It's like spiritual something. I wish I could have remembered. It's such a great term, and it kind of like defines it perfectly. It's like when we become so infatuated by the beauty of a lot of these spirits and energies that we lose the vision of what the purpose is, and we get so lost
We lose sight of our mission. Yeah,
in the
of what you're here for.
vanity of it, and then that's when these energies tend to start to just do whatever they want in your life, and then we hear one day that this person is gone because
Eldon said here,
The energy
Let me
is gone.
see.
You know.
I would have said another aspect we also have to look at after being drained of your energy. How do we replenish yourself? What steps do you take to protect your energy? I think that's a really important question, Eldon. Thank you for asking that. Go ahead, Nick. You said you're ready to jump on it. Go ahead.
Jump on it because that's a very personal question. Because for everybody, it depends on what you can deal with, how much you can open up yourself to. For somebody, it might be complete conservation of self. You might have to go on a like celibacy journey for a while to replenish yourself because you were drained of so much energy. For others, they might just be able to take a little bath and cut the lights and go about their business. So that's really depending on who you are, where you are, what level of awareness you have of self. Like if I'm gonna make a calculated decision to sleep with someone, I know I'm opening up myself to not only their energy, but the real life practical things like diseases, all these other things. So you have to have a level of awareness of self to develop the plan that would work best for you. But there's things like crystals that you could wear and things like that. But it really still goes down to knowing yourself.
For me, and I agree. I think everyone's prescription is different, and we could have the same ailment, but my dose and your dose could be two different doses. You understand? The truth of the matter is, you have to know yourself, and what works for me is not going to work for you. It might work for you one time, but it might not work for you the next time. So you got to figure out what recharges you, what reinvigorates you. I know me. I'm a child of the earth. For me, I gotta go roll around in some grass.
I gotta hug a tree.
I gotta go in the bush and
I gotta go hug a tree.
Take in some energy. That's my thing. Some people gotta go and roll around in the sea. Some people can take a bath and just
go about the business.
Some people need heavy, steady yoga. It just depends on their
level. And let me say this too: every situation is different. You may lay down with somebody that don't know nothing from nothing, and you just take a little soft hit. You're tired. You knock out the next day.
Right.
You may see with somebody else. They came with a little baggage, and your whole everything just start to crash.
Yeah.
Then you lay down with somebody that know a little something. All three of those different situations require different kind of effects.
Yes.
You understand? And so when we talk about laying down and being intimate, anybody that you lay with, you're going to pick up a little something. So as spiritual beings, you should have a spiritual ritual and hygiene. You should know how to clean yourself. Your spiritual hygiene. So you should have your bush combination or whatever. You should have your little bush that you take and a bush you look bathed with. It should be internal and external to clear and dismiss that energy. And if it's someone that you're dealing with for a little bit of time, that time of separation and departing may be a little bit difficult because relationships are not always easy to detach from. So that requires work. That may require some prayer, some fasting, some separation, some isolation, a little bit of all of the above. You understand? And then some situations require a little work. And in that situation, come holler at me because I got you. You understand? Because I had a week, like I was saying, right before the eclipse, where I had a week with 4 different cases of soul tie breakings, not knowing what the eclipse was getting ready to entail. You understand? And all 4 of those works were all different. You understand? Some needed blood and some did not. You understand? And so depending upon the situation, it varies. And so how do you protect yourself from the energies? Number 1 is discipline, safe sex, and number 3 is also the spirit of discernment, praying and asking the universe for the spirit of discernment. When you pray for protection and you ask God for protection and you ask the universe to protect you, when you get that link, that sneaky link text or that sneaky link call, you understand that you got to try to go to the door, but you can't walk out of it. Or you end up going to sleep and you doze off and you never make it to your destination. Or you get the bubble guts. You understand all the icky feelings. All these things are the telltale signs that, baby, it's something you don't need to be involved in. And so be obedient to the signs. Be obedient to the telltale signs because the universe is trying to tell you something. And this is how you protect yourself from, the simple way. with a conscious mind and a sensible mind and with a spiritual consciousness, how you protect yourself. You know, and then in the act of, or when you feel things shift, you better start to pray. Yes, some people pray during sex, and it is okay. You don't have to feel ashamed to pray during sex because something may try to slip in, and you better be on your P's and Q's like Hogwarts and dismiss that shit. You
Hello.
understand? And then you have situations where, you know, after you did what you need to do, you may need to walk with a little scrub in your nightie bag. You may need to walk with a little, you know, soap and, you know, a little powder in your nightie bag. You need to maybe walk with a little mist or something in your nightie bag. Do you understand? And know how to set the space. But also for you spiritual people, let me say this now. I should. Mm-hmm. Hey, okay. Um, hey, okay. All right now. Hey, the mister. Understand that some of you vibrate on a certain level, and some of you, all of you, have different assignments, purposes, and destinies in your life. And some people will cross your path because they are meant to receive something for you too, from you. Let me be very clear. They are meant to receive something from you.
Absolutely.
So they may be in a particular space because sex is so powerful. It can provide clarity, healing, inspiration, motivation. It can clear, it can dismiss, it can charge, it can send you to the ethers and back if you're with the right partner. It's not always for you to always receive and someone to take you to that place. Sometimes you have to take someone to that place.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? That is a true fact too. And understand that in that, be mindful that you want to pray to be aligned with the right partners in the right situations in the right timing. Pray to be aligned. Pray to be aligned with the right partners in the right situations in the right timing. So whether they be like, whoa, you understand, they receive something from you and you receive something from them, but it should always be the right situation will always be a situation where you will feel recharged, revigorated. You will feel like, oh my God. You
You know,
understand it?
as
And go ahead, Devontae.
I was gonna say, as a spiritualist, as a spiritual person, truthfully, that's one of those hard pills to swallow. That, you know, as much as we accept that we are spiritual beings and we have purpose, and our divine sort of will is very different than the most. It's also one of those things that, as simply as a human being, is hard. I remember when being younger and being in certain situations with people and knowing that all that I'm giving is building them. As a man, as a spiritual man, as a person, you know, my carnality gets into it a lot, and it's like, what kind of God would put me on this earth to just be giving up all myself? It's like, but then I'm always reminded that your purpose is just so different, and understand that God's energy, the universe energy, all of this energy, no matter what you belief system you align with, it's like when you're given this purpose to help create and to help build, no matter how you feel about it, always remember that you're giving to a greater part of the universe that is only supposed to get better and better and better and better. That's kind of the way I kind of get through it, because it's a sentiment that I discuss with a lot of my spiritual brothers and sisters as well. It's like, how can I be put in this world to just give of myself, and a lot
We're
of the
gonna get
time
into that.
I'm not receiving that, even though, like you said, it should be where we're in a situation where we're equally receiving and we should be recharging, we should be feeling better, but a lot of the times we're not.
We're gonna get into that. We're gonna bookmark that because I want to get into that. When I talk about the recharge, go ahead, Nick. Before I get into that, go ahead, Nick. Go ahead, because it's too. Go ahead, Nick. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Back,
Go ahead.
I'm gonna go forward.
Okay. Yep. Go ahead.
As a woman, when you realize that you're a portal, especially as a spiritual woman, and you realize the power and the energy that lies within your yoni, that lies within your exchange, you start to be able to say, well, I don't want to exchange this as much. Or you will start trying to seek out partners that can fulfill your cup in both a carnal and a spiritual way. Because I believe when you have that system of awareness, you know the power that lies within. So you're not just going to sparingly give that. Now, when you do decide to give that power away, it should be, I really truly believe, of an equal give and shake. Because then you're going to always end up questioning this spiritual journey of like, why am I always feeling depleted? And now you may not get back in kind all that you have given, but you should be getting back something.
Thank you. Oh, that's what, wait a minute. Thank you. Ashe me. So two things. So we're going to go backward, then go forward. Building on what you say, Neek, I agree with you 1000%. When I say someone being sent to you, it is not to be an unbalanced situation. They may not be able to give to you in a way that you give to them. But when you talk about helping them to grow, you will expand their consciousness, their behavior patterns, how they perceive things and process things. You will see the growth and the progression in them. But how they give to you may be they hold you down. They pull up when they need to pull up. They come through when they need to come through. They will connect you with who you need to connect with. You understand? Or put you on when you need to be put on. That's how they're able to, because they're utilizing what's in their cup to give to you. So it becomes balanced now, because I can't expect you to give me what you don't have. I can't expect you to give me that, but I have to be mindful that if I'm asking the universe for that partner, I have to be sensible that if a person comes my way that is not producing what I'm asking the universe for, that is a test for me to say, hold up, let me be mindful. But if it is reciprocity in the sense of them giving to you and holding you down or whatever, however they give to you, you have to be aware and conscious of that too. Go ahead, Neek.
I think that a lot of times as spiritual people, we've been trained to believe that we're supposed to not have, or that we're supposed to be in this state of constant giving, because that's what the spiritual journey is about. But I refuse to believe that God put me here to just simply give and then be depleted. You have to, going back to Eldon's question, you have to be able to replenish and recharge yourself. Now, not every interaction is going to give you, as you say, the same level of replenishment. I may come to him because I need financial advice and go to somebody else because I need to get, buck wild crazy. It just depends on the relationships that you have within your life and how you balance that out. And you have to understand that if you start to feel like this relationship is not sustaining me in any way, just because I'm spiritual and my energy is healing and you want to be within my vicinity, doesn't mean that you're allowed to have access to that.
Absolutely.
And as spiritual people, we need to start having very hard,
that's the boundaries. That's to setting boundaries. And you have to be real with yourself. You have to be real with yourself and say, hold up, this is an unbalanced situation. Yes, I'm a giver, but let me realize, what purpose did I serve? And did my time pass? Did I fulfill the purpose and did my time pass? Because some people come for a day, a season, a time, a place, a season. Some people are just simply to learn and not to be intimate with. They just to hang out with, have conversation, go to the park, go to a little walk, go out and have a drink, go to the restaurant, and y'all build. And that's the boundary. You understand? And then some people, you go into another level with them. You understand? And so you have to be sensible to know, why is this person here and why am I in their life? That's number one. Go ahead, Neil.
And then just going back to the whole incubus and succubus topic, like when you have firm boundaries, it's like a spiritual protection wall. A succubus cannot get to you, an incubus can't get to you, because they know that you are aware of what you're supposed to be receiving. So within these interactions, when I go back to talking about the people aspect and not the, entity aspect of an incubus and succubus, is making sure that these relationships that you're having sexually are balanced. Make sure that when you're having sex with this person, your life is growing and benefiting in some way, shape, or form. Make sure when you're laying down with this person that you can say, hey, I see how they have added to my life. And women, especially women of color, don't be afraid to ask for what you want. And, I think a lot of times through trauma, we've been taught that we should not ask for things, or We shouldn't expect things especially in the bedroom, you know. But if you're not receiving, you're just giving, and that's being in a relationship with an incubus. That by definition is an incubus type situation because you're not benefiting any way, shape, way, or form.
The same goes for men. I was always
And so
wondering.
when we get into that too, another thing too, same goes for men too, because sometimes it's the same dynamic too. And I had to talk to have a similar conversation with my friend. A lot of times there's a subconscious that men are just all hard and dominant and don't think with emotions, and they just are this aggressive. They just want to, bounce around and think. And that may be true on the external perception to a level. But at the core of it all, there is always some level of emotional core behind it, or reasoning, or function, or drive, or motivation behind it that oftentimes get dismissed because a lot of times men are not able to talk about those feelings. A lot of guys have dealt with rich writings. A lot of guys have been sexually violated, whether it was by female or big women, or people in their school or whatever. There's a variety of things that oftentimes get neglected or dismissed, and by societal norms or stands, it's supposed to be just man up, toughen up, and deal with it. And so, a lot of times, what stems that running the road, as we would say, stems from looking for the safety net, or the space where they feel able to, one, express themselves, or they feel safe, or they do get the sometimes it's not sexual, and it's the emotional solace in the conversation or the dialogue. You understand it's a variety of things. And so, going back into protecting oneself, when you are the host and the dynamic, and even when you are invited into a space, like, for example, I'll give you a scenario. I'll pull up by whatever, and I didn't walk with no candles. All I walked with was my good ganja, my little pipe, but I know there's a little candle, and it's always water. I'll go ahead and take me a glass of water and do what I got to do and sprinkle what I got to sprinkle. They don't see. And when it get time to that later part, best to believe I'm going to light a candle, because it's sitting there on the nightstand, on the dresser. That's just me and my little obvious self. You understand? And so in that, you set the atmosphere. And so when you are the host for spiritual people, you set the atmosphere. Burn a little incense, say a little prayer, manifest your thoughts, your intentions. You understand? Spray your little mist or your little Florida water, your little perfume, you understand? And think about what you're getting ready to entertain into your space. But also think about what you're not getting ready to entertain. And even for those of you that are going to go and engage, be prevalent on your travel from the time you leave your house to the point of where you're going, what you're not going to do and what you're not going to engage in, but also be focused and aware as to what you're going to engage in and what you want the energy to be and produce on a conscious level. You understand those things that I feel are important. You understand as a spiritual person that is engaging intimately, and also setting a protection for yourself and protecting your mind, protecting your emotions, protecting your being. I want to know what you guys' thoughts are on that.
I think the first step of protection is being intentional in choosing your partner. If you're shifting through your partners and you're setting up a certain list of criteria that you're looking for, and you filter out the garbage, that's the first step of spiritually protecting yourself. Have a list, have a checklist. And people say it's wrong to have standards. Have standards, even if it's just a nightstand. Have standards. Have standards.
High standards.
So that way you filter out at least some of the lower vibrational things that you don't want within your life. Second step of spiritual protection, as Ricky said, say your prayers before you do an encounter. It don't gotta be no Jordan Jesus prayer. God, I'm about to do this. Protect me, because I'm making a decision, and they saying everything to do. I acknowledge you, so I'm acknowledging your presence within my life right now, and I'm about to do this, because you're gonna make mistakes sometimes. Things are gonna happen, but prayers does cover all things, and
I believe in that.
and just like protection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with all of that. One thing about me, I'm extremely picky and very choosy. I have very, very, very high standards. Y'all know I'm bougie as hell. I have very high standards, especially when it comes to who I'm sharing my energy with. So those who that I do, you know, I'm the king of Obi in plain sight. You know, my whole life is Obi. So you know, it's like I kind of set up my space and my life and my energy in a way, whereas I constantly am projecting that sort of protective light around, you know, especially like Shanique knows, Ray knows when you come in my space, you're in my space right now. I try to make this the most serene and calm. Everyone who comes in here falls asleep. That's the first thing they do is fall asleep, which I deem it a privilege because I know you're comfortable. And for me, you know, I have things all over the place. You know, you just if you don't have the eyes to see, you won't be able to see. You understand? So it's about taking on the proper spiritual protection, especially us who have the knowledge. You know, taking on the proper precautions, but also just being safe. Like she said, use protection. There's enough pills out here to protect yourself. There's enough, you know, products and condoms and all kinds of things. You know, I'm not for too much of taking drugs, but listen, you know, if you gotta take whatever pill, take your pill, take care of yourself, make sure your mind is in a sound. Listen, a sound mind is one of the
mental health.
My God, we speak about this every single day. Okay, mental health, when it comes to all of these things, spiritual and carnal, it is the most important thing. You cannot be lying down with a madman. That is crazy.
No,
You
not the
understand?
time.
It's like, and the thing about it is, you know, like we always talk about this, the people just walking up and down. They may look beautiful, but glamour is a real thing. On the
True
inside,
enough.
they just deteriorating. The whole tower.
Miserable.
You ever seen you know you seen the tower card? The inside of the tower card. Everything is falling apart. Everything is just all over. Outside
Lot of
looks nice.
mercy.
Outside looks so nice, and you're like, damn.
They're miserable too bad.
But they're miserable. And you're taking on all that energy. You just gotta start. You have to use your spiritual eyes. You have to be able to see.
That part.
You understand? Discernment is a serious thing. You understand? But
True
also,
enough.
above all, oh God, take care of yourself. Okay? Or Rebemi, take care of yourself.
Yes, you got to check in with yourself. That's so important. So as we about to shift gears, Baba Big Tree, put on some lo-fi vibes for me. What's in the background? Because as we talk about mental health, we have to talk about mental health and how mental health and trauma also plays a role in sexual activities that's also known as fetishes or kinks. You know, and as we shift gears, I'm gonna let my co-host, Miss Rain, she's gonna lead us into that because I would say she's more of an expert in activity, you know, than me. But I mean, doesn't mean, you know. But on a serious note, when we get into mental health and trauma, a lot of times what a person seeks intimately or what a person seeks when they're dating or even sometimes find difficulty and when dating or even if they're in marriages or relationships, a lot of times the difficulties stem from a lot of times emotional traumas or imbalances that lie from certain experiences that you encountered at any point in your life. It can be from your childhood, from your teenage years, from your young adult years, even as a full-blown adult. You understand these things could happen. And so as we start to scratch the surface, I want Rain to take the to rein us on in and
So
and let's get into it.
I would like to start by saying I'm a student disclaimer. I don't consider myself to be an expert in kinks, but I'm an expert in mental health because my mental
Yes.
health is something that I am constantly working on and striving to make better and also bring awareness within our community that especially for us people of color, especially people of color from like West Indian descent where, you know, things like mental health are not talked about. It does play a major role into how we develop kinks and fetishes and different avenues of interest because
Mm-hmm.
instance, you may have a fetish where you may like pain. And if you look back to your childhood, maybe you used to get a lot of beatings. And because you were so young and your brain could not differentiate between pain and pleasure, you may have
Exactly.
search for that feeling that you are familiar with in the bedroom. And then I'm gonna have my good old co-host here join me.
Yeah. No, and y'all listen, don't misconstrue my words, Nick, and I apologize if that came off wrong. Let me say this. I definitely didn't feel like you were we both learning and discovering at the same time. But definitely from experience, I feel that you definitely are more experienced than I am, and
Yes.
as far as our experience levels. But we both have very similar thoughts as far as where it stems from in the processing of where these correlations lie.
So for me, I think one, as Rain also said, I think I'm also much more expert in mental health as far as I've understood, and I've been able to take time to really get to the root of a lot of things as far as all aspects of my emotional being. But the kink side, I guess I would say I'm a little more experienced as far as my experience in it. Some of it comes from a certain level of not necessarily trauma, but traumatic experience. And also some of it comes from a level of just exploration, you know. And I tell these stories very freely. You know, when I was younger, I was through work and just friendships, I was able to sort of encounter certain people that introduced me to a certain level of kink. I was only about maybe 18 or 19 around that time. And I was sort of led into this very new world through an experience with, you know, people who I consider, you know, friends to this day.
That's
But
real.
yeah, and you
That's
know,
a safe space.
yeah, it was. Even though, you know, when I look back on it, you know, and I've spoken to my therapist about this as well. Being that I was younger, there was a certain level of manipulation and taking advantage of because of my lack of understanding and experience.
Okay.
So I was kind of thrown into an experience, just kind of thrown in, even though I was young and very explorative and very open to like anything. So when the opportunity came, I was just like, oh, sure. You know, I was that kind of kid, you know, even though in certain arenas I was very conservative in my personal life. When it came to when I got my freedom, I took it and I
That's
explored,
real. That's
you know,
real.
and the world didn't see those things. I always lived with this mask where like I was always able to differentiate all of these aspects of my life. So even to this day, you know, most people don't believe me when I tell certain stories because they be like, no, Devontae, like, but I'm serious, you know, and I experienced these things, and you know, from that, you know, a lot of it was very fun. You know, I experienced, you know, I was introduced to various forms, you know, in the kink community. And there's the fun aspect. There's the, you know, you're having sex and you're experiencing different aspects of your body, and you know, you're feeling things you never felt before, and you know, there was the fun aspect of it. But then when you really take time to think about it, you know, and I speak about this all the time, what the world, the negative side of it that the world tends to highlight a lot, it's real. You know, as much as we don't want to admit those things, there's a good and bad in everything. You know, and as much as it is just regular people, you know, exploring their sexual freedoms, there's also that aspect of people taking advantage and using that
and seeing how far they can go, testing limits.
Because within the community, power dynamics are the core. You know, whether it's dominant dynamic, a submissive dynamic, whether you're in between, however that manifests, that at the core is what it is. It's the play of that power dynamic.
So do you feel like therapy is important if you're going to participate in that type of arena?
Now, don't get me wrong. Everyone doesn't have to, but I do think it's important.
Okay, go ahead, Nick.
So to answer that question, I would say therapy is very important, but for some people, this is
Is there
therapy.
therapy?
A lot of people sort
Okay.
out their issues and their obstacles through these types of
It's
behaviors.
their freedom.
I find myself in this place where I'm like, how much do you share? How much do you not? Because there's
Search
always.
yourself. If you got to take a breather, this is real time.
Let me finish. How much do you share and how much do you not? Because there's so many people out there that still live in this shadow of, expressing what they desire sexually. And a lot of times we don't want to have the voice. And I think that kinks give people a way to explore the secret things that they may be into. And now we have come to a place now where there is more safe spaces for people to explore these things. But having a conversation about these things are still very hard.
I also want to add on to that. And I think a lot of the conversations are hard and are still difficult, even though the world is becoming much more open to them. I think being that and we all know this to be in all religions, all cultures, when things are outside of what's considered normal, it automatically becomes demonized. It automatically becomes the wrong thing. And the thing about it is culture and society has put the picture on kink as,
derogatory,
dungeons and whips and chains and debauchery and blood and all of these.
It may be some of these.
Now, don't be wrong. Depending on exactly,
it may be some of those things.
There's levels to everything, and even within this, there's
variations and shades.
There's the novices, and then there's the So wherever you fall.
But I'm just saying that the fact that we're even having these conversations right now is showing that we have reached a stage where people are willing and comfortable to talk about these things. Because, the kink community for so many years was this secretive, behind the shadows type of thing. And now you can be like, oh yeah, I'm into BDSM. And most people won't really bat an eye or look at you any differently because we've become so accepting of kinks and fetishes. Yeah. And I feel like, why not keep it spicy? Entertain yourself. Try something new. You never know. You might like it.
And let's be real.
I think a spicy bedroom will keep a marriage, baby.
No, hello. But let's be real. A kink can be anything.
Yeah.
A kink can literally be anything. Literally, I have some of the weirdest kinks as well. Like certain things make me very happy and help me sexually. And that's just real. That may be different from other people. And a lot of the times, those things don't even involve penetration. Majority of the time, they don't. Most of the times, they involve touch and feel and connection and all of these different kinds of things. Is not so much, a ram jam, that kind of vibe. A lot of the time for me, touch is a very emotional thing for me. Listen, I like my feet rubbed and rubbed well. That's a big kink for me. Okay, I rub my feet. They're size 13 and rub them. And there's people who pay lots of money to do those kinds of things. And that's a reality.
Wait a minute, what you said?
listen. Don't. Okay, because that's an aspect of it as well. The professional side of kink. There are professional, non-professional subs. They're all of these things, and they make great money off of just simply enjoying themselves. There are people who, I tell you, there's all kinds of kinks for all kinds of people.
There's an array of, if you have an appetite for it, it exists.
It exists.
And that's literally the thing. If you have an appetite for it, and even if you think I'm the only one that has this thought, you're not.
There's food kinks. There's kinks with about textures and feel and a lot of them, and that what arouses people. There's people who get aroused by food. That's their kink. They enjoy eating together and then they make love. That's a real
and there's
thing.
Things called feeders and eaters and there's a
people,
whole world.
There's people who are obsessed with hands. This is their kink.
And feet and
they would pay hundreds of dollars just to look at my hands in the camera.
Or to look at feet on the camera, or to look, I look at boobs. There's all these, if you can think about it, it exists. And I think that we live in a world where, people have become so comfortable that it should be shared, and it should be something that we can talk about freely.
Absolutely.
And say, well, this is what I'm into. And I think a lot of times, especially like when you're dating, you should have these kind of conversations, you know.
Yes, friend. Thank you.
Hello. Hello,
Yes.
Francis. Listen, give me a beautiful dining experience, and
Babe,
you gonna listen.
let's
You gonna
talk about
part. You gonna be so embarrassed. You gonna think I made love to the food.
let's talk about that real fast. Cause like I said earlier, I like nice things. I'm very bougie, and and they know I love a nice bougie restaurant. When I tell you, if someone
Listen,
was to say, "Hey, yo, let's go out. I'm taking you to this to Mr. Chow," what? Just know you're getting the best night of your life.
oh, speaking of okay, so speaking of kinks, you ever thought about question? I've never done it. Oh yeah, so judge your mama, not me. Try Jesus, not me today. But y'all ever tried using one of those toys under the dinner table when you can change the vibration on your phone? Hey, I want to try that.
I
Listen, that's all I got to say. We can on to the next. That's all I got to say. Because that just brought me back. I said that there would cause eruption.
but understand that kind of kink when done with someone that like you really like into and y'all vibe, like y'all really y'all vibrations is like here and y'all are really building that. Like
Hello.
that is such an amazing like emotional building thing because
Yeah.
it builds that kind of connection. I can be across the country. Okay, I can just be in this app and just turn it on. You feel me? It's that's one of those things that can make things so.
For me, I think of it like on that power control dynamic because
Mhm.
I have a thing for power. So, you know, it's like you're handing somebody that full control over and saying to them, like, hey, you do with what you feel when you feel
Yeah,
like
but
it and take me there when you feel like it, you know?
that's fun.
Mhm.
That's fun as hell.
I
Like,
agree. I believe, like, you know, in my years of being in Georgia, I've had the pleasure of speaking to a variety of couples. Um, Heterosexual couples, same gender loving couples, bisexual couples. I've had the pleasure of having a variety of conversations and take a general survey. And what I've learned is the most happiest couples and seem to be the longer lasting ones are the ones that are not as restrictive in their exploration or in their shared deeds. I'm going to put it in a professional manner. You understand? Meaning they are willing to either trust their partner, they trust each other, and they meaning they go by Old Testament, the bed of man and woman is undefiled, meaning they do what they do, you know, together, or someone introduces the other into a certain environment in a space, and they tend to like it. And I've seen that those dynamics tend to last longer. Um, the old folks used to call it swingers club, so y'all know damn well what I'm referring to. But it ain't that no more. It's
Because
evolved from that.
there's
It's
so many.
evolved from that. You
there's
know,
There's so many.
I feel like there's so many levels of what open relationships and what types of relationships exist nowadays. I think it's just about communication between you and your partner because
yes,
I don't feel like monogamy works. Like I'm gonna get bored. Like I'm gonna be honest. Like I'm gonna get bored. You know, I'm gonna need to be entertained, and I'm not in a bad way saying that you're a boring person or whatever. Just like saying that we have to maintain focus on just one person for the rest
hmm
of your life
hmm hmm
seems that seems crazy. to me.
And then I want to spice it up too. We doing the same old positions. We doing the same old holidays, the same old birthdays. We
That's
ain't no lingerie involved. Can we throw some nice underwear in the mix? Can you understand what I mean? Can we get a little toy or something? You know
For
what I
me,
mean?
for me, it's like even if you do all of that, you're still the same person.
right. And
You
see, that's what I was going to. Yeah. Because
Okay, let's dive in. Bring it to me. Let me hear this.
and I tell this is a current struggle that I've dealt with in my adult life is I have, especially with relationships, sexual partners, I have this constant need for something new. It's like I can't stick with something for too long. And I realize how that manifests in all of my life, even in how it got me to my professional career. Like growing up, like I could never like stay with one thing. I would always do something, master it, and move on. Do something else, master it, and move on. Do something else, master it, and move on. I would never stick with it. You understand? Like that's why I can play all these instruments. I was in band, orchestra, choir. I was in karate. I was doing all kinds of stuff. But I would never stay for too long because I would just go and get all that I need to get and move on. And I realized how that manifests in my relationships as well. It's like I'm constantly looking for that next good thing, the next exciting thing. And I don't know. I still don't know whether it's a good or a bad thing, but I'm still working through that. That's the constant struggle that I go through.
Would you say that monogamy is a more modern day thing?
Oh, can I?
Go ahead. You take it.
Go ahead, Nick. Go ahead, Nick.
I feel like monogamy, and I know that monogamy is a modern day conception. You know, when ancient tribes, they all practiced some form of polyamory, polyandry, whatever it was necessary in order to make the population and the balance occur. Now, back to what he was saying earlier, for me, like I can be with one person, but I just need variations in energy. You know, like I like to have different conversations, meet different people who may be skilled at different things. Like I just like the curiosity of getting to know new people, you know, and that seems very odd if you know me because I don't really like people like that, but I like the initial stage of figuring out a person,
Right.
you know, and like then when I figure you out, I'm like, okay, I want to go figure out something else now. And and it's not that I'm done with the person. People are in my life forever, but you know, I just like we were put here to make connections. You know, we were put here to discover our soul tribe. And if you just limit yourself to just like this one particular thing, how do you know you're missing out on a soulmate? You know, because we have multiple of soulmates. They're existing in the universe waiting to meet us and to develop these connections. You know, and that's to me, it's just like developing connections. That's what I like.
And I know it may sound like cat, but like I also just feel like as I am growing to understand my purpose in this world, like more and more and more, I'm realizing how much spirit and God and the energies are moving me away from those kinds of relationships. It's like as much as I want them to work, for right now, the path is not allowing them to work because it's just not where my alignment is right now. You know, and I don't know if that's going to be forever or it might be temporary. But in my head, I just, you know, I've always said in my mind, I live this spiritual nomad kind of life. Like everyone knows I want to buy my 25-acre farm up in the mountains and just go and live and have a great life. If someone wants to come and live with me, you know, and have a life, then that's fine. But I need you to have a house on the other side of the farm. That's just, you know, my love is very distant. Not distant, but I can.
At least I'm not the only one that shares a similar idea.
That's really, but I feel it plays, our spirituality plays a part in it. I really feel that. Like there's something about when it comes
isolation
to because we are, particularly in our practices, we are as I always say, custodians of the earth. Mm-hmm. Our job is to take care and be custodians of the spirits that dwell within the realms of the earth. And it's like for the majority of them, it's like isolation is key, you know. And for me, it's like I'm fine with that. I know I love the bush. It's like I just want to go.
Everyone that knows me knows that I want a house where the neighbor is like down the road. Like, you gotta drive to get to me. I'm in the middle of the bush. You know, because I think it's very important to ground your energy. When you have so much energy that flows through you, you can't be constantly open to multiple people. You know, and I think that as curious as we can be as spiritual beings, it's really important to constantly go through those periods of getting to know oneself deeper and deeper, and isolation, and periods where you don't even deal with anybody. You know, you might
absolutely
drop off the face of, everybody know me, I'm good for a good drop off the face of the earth.
Hello.
They like to cuss me, but
I discuss them.
Yeah, know me. When I need to go away,
no, this is true though. This is true. This is when we talk about the equilibrium and the balance. It's not just I'm in go mode and go mode and go mode, because that's when we go back to the spirit of the incubus. The entity. That's when we go back to the spirit of the incubus, because there's something else that is driving you to operate, that is enabling you, that is disabling you rather, from being able to focus and do what you need to do that is productive and progressive in your life. You understand? And that's something that is continuously being fed, but yet distracting you and everything else. That is the spirit of. And so now when we get into being consciousness and operating in intentionality, and we get into now being in an aligned partner, and we connect with the aligned partner, then we manifest this great house and this land and this property now, because we're drawing and we're feeding and we're exchanging and we're building together. We're able to manifest something great and produce something great now. And so then now we operate in the balance, because that may mean once or two times or once a month we may take a little trip of 2 hours away and go to the little spot and have a little fun, and then we go back home and mind our business and be normal and read our books by the lake. You understand? And that is a balance. That's living in an equilibrium, because you're able to not only share and exchange and explore your energy and put a little fuel to your fire, but you're also able to know how to ground yourself and displace that energy and protect and build yourself back up. And it's very important, because that again is having balance in your life. That's moving with a level of clarity, because you don't want to disserve a certain part of yourself now and create an imbalance and become angry and frustrated and tired and fatigued and lack of motivated and creator's block and writer's block and designer's block and all these things, because something is missing or something has not been released or something has not been expressed or something needs to be explored, so that you can have that spark of inspiration for your next piece of whatever that may be. You understand? So these things are it boils back down to now knowing thyself.
That's the key.
But you know, this
knowing thyself.
It also goes back to, like, again, what we always talk about. You know, if you look at our tradition, you know, it's like it comes to a point, like, and they thought I was joking when I say, but I take a break every year for about a month, because between prayers and feasts and banquet and puja and this prayers and that prayer breakfast and this and that and this and that and this and that, it comes to a point whereas, like, as much as I love God, I love all the energies, I have to step back for a moment, because I'm giving
and preserve yourself.
Yeah, and preserve myself for real. It's like it, you know, I love all of this, but when I'm just giving, and this is why I awe at so many of these leaders and people who are you know, elders who live these lives of constantly just of service, and I just always wonder, how do they find the balance? But really and truly, we see so much of the time how so many of them kind of just fall by the way, because they don't know how to keep that equilibrium.
And this is something that's consistent in many practices. If you don't have that equilibrium, you will burn yourself out and you will wither. You know, and it's not even to say you withdraw from your practice or your tradition. So I want to be, let's be wise with the words. I won't even say that, because at the end of the day, you're still going to make your mantras at home. You're still going to pull your libation at home. So you still keep tradition, but you may have to reserve from the population of the people.
Exactly.
that drains you. Yep.
Exactly.
And with that aspect, we have to see how that is a trend in other areas of our life. Because this could be in our friendships, this could be in our workplace, this could be with our children, our husband, our girlfriend, our spouse, our companion, and various areas of our life, because it boils down to a character trait. And so in our separation, when we separate and we recharge, we have to be able to identify what aspect of myself do I need to tighten up, preserve, keep to myself, and put some hinges on and know how to pour a little drip, pour a little drip, pour a little drip, and still keep your spiritual being elevated at the same time. Go ahead, Nick.
I want to be an advocate for mental health days. I think it's very important to take time when you feel your battery is being depleted. Like, I'm still learning how to balance the spiritual requirements with simply just being Shanique and reconnecting with self, because a lot of times it gets easy, as Baba Tree said, to be like, okay, I gotta go this prayer, I gotta go to church, I gotta go here, I gotta do this. You know, you feel obligated to do a lot of
One of those
things,
things, yeah.
and you start to forget that, hey, I'm a person that needs to be present within the moment of this carnal reality. I have a life, you know.
Yes.
And I think it's finding that balance between sowing into ourselves and giving ourselves that compassion and grace. And if that looks like, hey, I need to turn my phone off today and just lay in my bed and do nothing, then that's like okay. It's okay to take that time for yourself to replenish yourself. And I think we live in a society where we feel bad when we decide to prioritize ourselves, that we don't end up prioritizing ourselves, and we give so much of ourselves to everybody else that we forget to give to ourselves.
Yes.
You
Yes.
have to give to yourself. Like, if it's anything that you take away from tonight's episode, don't be your own incubus. Don't be your own succubus. Don't
Yes.
drain your own energy giving to other
Yep.
people.
Yep. Yep.
Not
Yep.
refill your battery.
And don't allow people to guilt you when you do decide to refill and recharge and repurpose yourself, because that same manifestation of that incubus or succubus will make you feel bad,
Mhm.
because you choose to do better for yourself, because you
Mhm.
choose to take time to recharge and rebuild, and they will make you feel bad in the name of their purpose. And
Mhm.
it might sound right,
Mm-hmm.
but really and truly, we always have to remember self first
Self is first.
Mhm.
at all times.
Mhm.
Yeah, and nobody will guilt me in
Mhm.
doing better for myself, taking care of myself. That sounds crazy. You understand?
Mhm.
But words, like I keep saying, words are so powerful, and we allow people's words to be the incubus. We allow people's words to just take us and
Fester.
fester and
Yes. 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 Yes.
those are all
Absolutely.
manifestations of the same
Same
spirit.
energy.
You understand? So
Absolutely.
it all comes back to that inner consciousness,
And that
allowing that mirror
awareness.
to just shine back out. You
I
understand?
think it's so important to start taking time to truly know yourself. Because when you know
Mhm.
yourself, you can see the trap before it comes. You can see that incubus energy for what it is, because you know yourself from your innermost parts. And I know it's so easy to get distracted in today's society with pretending to be other people, or to get caught up in the image of things or the matrix of things. But as spiritual people, the key to unlocking all doors is knowing thyself.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes.
By knowing thyself, it makes walking with intentionality so much easier. It makes discernment so much clearer. So when you
Oh
take
yes.
that to know yourself, whether it be through shadow work, whether it be through really just a moment of isolation, I'm a big fanatic of the isolation, maybe a little bit too much. A little bit too much, but I think
Me
it's
and you both,
key.
baby. You know that's my problem.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it's key.
Yeah.
Like, you have to get comfortable with yourself. You have to get comfortable with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Mhm.
in order to say, like, I'm not going to walk within this incubus or succubus energy, you have to know when somebody's taking from you. If you're not even aware,
Oh yes.
so drained, you're already so drained that you don't even know that this person is depleting you even more.
Let's also
So
be
true.
aware, because you said something that kind of triggered something in here. Let's also be aware that, you know, how we pour into ourselves would also determine the kind of energy that's being taken from us as well. Because I'm thinking about it as well, and I'm thinking, you know, even in that same state of being to ourselves and be and living in that space of introspection, I've learned the importance of also in that space just being quiet and
Yes.
learning
Yes.
to be present, because distractions in our personal space tend to be that same energy as well. Because I realized, you know, in the last like 2 years, I barely watch TV. Like I noticed, like I barely, like very rarely. There's certain things I would watch, certain things that would spark my interest, but on like a general basis, I don't necessarily watch TV at all. And I realized how much that was a distraction in my life as well, and how certain energies tend to just kind of take hold of you. Think about this generation now and how they're so impacted by this spirit that is TikTok and this spirit that is TikTok. How it has taken over our entire culture, whereas people's livelihoods are based off of this fake form of interaction. Because if you think about it, like these phones, these things, none of this is real. It's all just like made up stuff in a machine that we just like allow our minds to just be like sucked into. If you think about, and this is why I love, this is why, even though I'm talking about this, I love iPhone, because it tells you like your screen time and how much time like you look at your phone and how much time you spend actually looking at the phone. And it's like I always get excited when I see the number go down, because no, for real, because it's like you don't realize the various things in our lives that can be a succubus or without gender. So I don't know what you would call that, a bicubus. I don't know.
Well, no, I wouldn't. I don't know if I can necessarily categorize it as an incubus or a succubus. What I will say is, though, it is a force. Let me say that. I believe AI is real. AI is a living force. Okay, AI is a living force. So we're gonna call it for what it is. AI. Okay, the artificial intelligence is a force. All right, and even people having sex in virtual reality games, and
yeah,
that's a whole nother situation. And so that is a part of it too. Okay, because that plays on the psyche, and then next you know you having dreams and things with things happening cerebrally that happen in the virtual reality thing. So that's a whole nother category. So I wouldn't say that the technology is incubus or succubi. But what I will say is AI is very advanced and it is programmed in a way, and its intention is definitely to draw us in, to utilize it, to get familiar with it. We can't say how far AI will go. You understand? But I definitely say AI it can be a blessing or a curse. It's neutral. AI is neutral right now. It's not necessarily. It boils down back to when we talk about sex. All of us have sex. Anybody that is well enabled and capable that has functional organs can perform the act of sex. But it's up to you as to your discipline level as to how often are you going to choose to masturbate, watch porn, involve yourself in sex. It boils down to choice. So we have a choice as to how often we choose to turn on the TV, pick up the phone, use these apps. It's choice. Go ahead.
So I really think that social media within itself vibrates on like an incubus or succubus level, because it's designed inherently to take up more and more of your time and learns what you like so that you spend more time using it. That's how it makes it.
Okay.
How
that's it. Yeah.
Like
yeah.
Like
Okay.
Like
so y'all think AI's master is a succubus spirit?
If you think about it,
it could be though. On a real note, though, it could be.
What you get back from social media versus what you give it your information, your data, your photos, your time. Like, what do you truly get from it? You might make some money if you are a content creator or whatever the case may be, but most of us are not content creators in the sense of monetizing it. You know, so it gets way more than it gives. I mean, you
This
make
is true.
and
You're right. You're
And
right.
put
So,
more and more and more.
ooh, okay, so now we break it on another level. So this is going to go longer, and I'm cool with it because it's still in the same vibration. So I happened to stumble across something earlier today that talked about the Draco. You know, when we get into Dracula and, you know, vampires and this and the third, they come from this entity called the Draco, which come from a whole nother the Draco is a star system. So this is from a whole nother constellation, a whole nother realm in the multiverse. But these entities do exist. And when we get into the idea of the vampire and even get into the human offering and all these set of things, these entities are the entities that drove that theology and that energy, that background of that receiving from that force. And so even when we get into AI, the technology of AI, the functionality of AI, for our people in this earthly plane, in this dimension that we're living in, the technology came from somewhere. You understand? And I'm not taking away this again. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, I'm not taking away from the advanced coders and creators in the US and the UK, whoever that contributed to forming the AI in which we use today. I'm not discrediting you. I don't know personally where you got your knowledge and your information from. But the downloads, the frequencies, and even if it was pacts or agreements made that we don't know about, I will say they are definitely entities that drive the energy of the force behind the AI. So I'm not disagreeing with you guys. So I definitely like the perspective that you brought that up. You know, AI definitely could operate in a level of a succubus. Siri, don't be pissed at me. Nor don't you be mad at me, the Mr. Google.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, because we're frozen on my end. My whole shit is frozen.
Yes, y'all are frozen. Oh my God, did AI get pissed off with me?
Yes, that's
Wow,
exactly what we said.
Wait, you see what I'm talking about?
You can't talk about it too loud.
Hold on, let me refresh this screen. I'm coming back.
Take the camera off and turn it back on. This is crazy. Y'all saw that lavender in color. AI got that vexed thing. Oh, wow. That can't be real. That can't be real, y'all. AI just got pissed off at me. I hope the guest code did not change. I really hope the guest code did not change. Anyhow, you guys, post any questions that you guys have. I thank you guys for the likes and the views and the shares. As we take a little small commercial break, you know, I am Barbara, and I do provide spiritual guidance, spiritual, you know, holistic help, and if you are seeking guidance, reading, spiritual consultations, spiritual medicine, spiritual remedies, root work, conjure, any of those things, feel free to reach out to me. And okay, great. They're back.
All right, we're back.
Feel free to reach out to me.
Yo!
You gotta flip the camera.
Yeah, the AI was like, nah.
That is something else.
Put out the truth.
The AI
That is something else. Did we crack a code?
Yeah, I guess so.
Wow.
Truth.
Wow, boy. I'm flabbergasted. I can't believe that.
Whoa. Wow. I can't. That was strange. Kosi wahala boy. Kosi. Kosi bobo ajigun to. Kosi bobo ajigun to. Kosi bobo ajigun to. Kosi.
Imagine.
That is crazy.
Internet spirit.
Let me tell you, when you spit in some truth, let me tell you, they know how to make a comeback for a comeback.
Mm-hmm.
Mama Star said she got 14 pages worth of notes. I hope you put that notebook someplace where you remember. I don't want to talk about tomorrow how you ain't know what it. Listen here, Mama Star. She
Mama
said
put
y'all said sex. Hold on. Let me add this one. She said y'all said sex is a frequency and vibration, and I fell asleep and just woke up. Whoa! Oh, 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 oh. Wow. That is crazy. That is crazy. That is crazy. That is crazy.
I just can't believe these things. Wow. Can't believe it. But hey, it is what it is, you know.
It is what it is. It is what it is. That is
Yeah,
crazy.
and spiritual things happen.
Wow. That is crazy. I'm at a loss for words for a minute. That's just it's
Can't
really I'm at a loss for words. But anyhow, that's how you know how real it is. So, you know, I know sometimes it seems like we're all over the place, but we like to ride away. We West Indian, you know,
Yeah.
and we come from big cities, Chicago, New York, Brooklyn, it's just so we talk a little fast. I apologize, but I'm working on it.
I try.
Hopefully I did
I'm
better today
working
than
on
I
my
did in the past videos. Mama Star, what's my rate? Give me a rate 1 to 10, Mama Star. How well did I do with my speed today, Mama Star? Okay. Let me know how well did I do with my speed today, Mama Star. I'm trusting you with your rating today. Because I'm working on it and I want to make sure that we deliver a good message. I really enjoyed tonight. And um, I really hope that we shared some things. If you may have seen all over the place, watch the whole video from start to finish, play it back a few times. You have the whole week and you're going to gain something. And I pray that that we've shared something with you all. Even in the midst of the technical difficulties, that's how I knew tonight was just going to be real bomb and real unique, in the midst of it all. And we
Yeah.
persevered through it.
Yeah.
You understand? And we stuck it out. And so I thank you all for your patience, number one. I thank you all for your willingness to, ride the wave with us. I thank you all for viewing us. I thank you all for promoting and sharing the live. Again, if you have not done so already, like, heart, share, subscribe, send a link to someone, find it on YouTube, play it back on Facebook, play it back on Instagram. Again, I'm very grateful for you all. I'm very grateful for your presence. I'm very grateful for your support. Um, and hear what? Any questions, any topics that you wish to discuss or explore, feel free to inbox me. Feel free to comment them. Feel free to just request them. And even if you think that you yourself want to be bold enough and get on this crazy old live with me and co-host Rain, let me know. And we could, arrange something. I would love to, have some time and hear your thoughts and your interactions and your experiences real time. This is a sharing space, it's a safe space. You know, some things may be touchy, some things may be sensitive, some things may be out of your ordinary, as it should be. Wild Out Wednesday, it should be out of your ordinary. But hey, I'm grateful that you chose to stop by. Again, until next time, until next time, I leave you all in peace and love and oneness and all things happy and prosperous and prosperous. I'm sorry, prosperous. Let no hurt, harm, or danger come upon you. Walk with wisdom, walk with awareness, walk with vigilance. Pray for discernment, pray for awareness, pray for patience, and pray to make divine connections. Number one, with yourself, and number two, with a divine companion, mate, friend, partner, whatever it may be for you. You know what it is. But again, I thank you for your time and enjoy your evening. Have a good night.